You have been getting robbed at the drive-thru window for 3 years and you knew it before they did. The patty got smaller, the price got bigger, and every quarter the people running these chains went on television and called you the problem. Does that sound right to you? The numbers do not lie. 2026 is the year customers decided to fight back. One Atlanta private equity firm now owns a slice of American chain food that has closed more United States restaurants in the last decade than the Great Depression closed banks. 8,345 Subways gone, 300 Wendy's on the way out. The chief executive of one chain on this list took a $96 million paycheck for 4 months of work, jumped ship, and is now actively breaking a second chain on the same list. Same guy, same year. Read between the lines. 10 chains the customers already retired. 2 rising stars eating their lunch and proving it can still be done right. By the end of this, you will know exactly which boardrooms deserve your next dinner and which ones deserve to starve. Hit subscribe. Where you spend your money this week is the only message corporate listens to. Let's go. Worst number 10. Burger King. If you think Burger King is an American chain, check the mailing address on the dividend checks. The flame broiler in your town exists to fund a balance sheet in Toronto, not a neighborhood in Ohio. In 2010, a Brazilian private equity firm called 3G Capital bought the chain for cheap, merged it with Tim Hortons, parked the headquarters in Toronto for the tax break, and renamed the parent restaurant Brands International. Since then, 4 major American Burger King franchisees have filed for bankruptcy. The Toronto parent has never missed a single dividend payment. The part they do not mention, the Whopper your father ate in 1985 needed 2 hands. The Whopper today hits the tray already sweating through the bun, warm enough to be unsafe and cold enough to be depressing. A line cook in Indiana posted on a worker forum last fall describing what the morning shift actually looks like. Broilers calibrated wrong since the last manager quit. Lettuce delivered 3 days late and used anyway. A single staffer running breakfast, drive-thru, and lobby because corporate cut labor hours by 16%. The kiosk has not worked since the last presidential debate. The bathroom has an out-of-order sign older than the kiosk. The Burger King United States president, Tom Curtis, got on a press call this year and admitted he personally took 12,000 customer phone calls about the Whopper. 12,000. About a hamburger. When the president of the company is moonlighting as the complaints department, the chain is not having a marketing problem. It is having a basic competence problem. Last year, a 57-location franchisee in the Florida Panhandle ran out of money. Final balance, $179,000, less than the Toronto parent's office coffee budget. 18 restaurants closed before the bankruptcy paperwork was filed. 773 workers on the unemployment line. The Toronto parent's response that same quarter? A $1.1 billion dividend. Burger King still throws off just enough cash that Toronto does not need to fix it. They can milk it, let franchisees die one by one, and still hit the quarterly dividend target. If Burger King disappeared tomorrow, the stock chart would notice before your town did. Toronto already runs it like a brand they are slowly cashing out. The Whopper your father loved is already gone, and they were the ones who killed it. The next chain has the same Toronto parent. It just pretends to be from Louisiana. Worst number 9, Popeyes. Popeye's Louisiana kitchen is not from Louisiana. The headquarters is in Florida. Daddy is in Toronto. Same office building as Burger King. The accent on the menu and the word Louisiana on the sign? Marketing copy printed in Canada and shipped to a deep fryer in Ohio. A Cajun costume on a Toronto balance sheet. Founded in New Orleans in 1972 by Al Copeland. Sold to private equity in 2001. Sold again in 2017 to Restaurant Brands International. The same Toronto parent that owns Burger King. The founder's family has not had a say since George W. Bush left office. Now look at your last receipt. The 4-piece chicken dinner that ran $7 in 2014 now runs almost $14. The 2-piece combo went from $6.49 to $11.39. A Finance Buzz study ranked Popeyes the second worst inflation offender in fast food, behind only McDonald's. Average menu price increase, 86%. National inflation over the same window, 31. Same chicken, different number on the menu board. You are not bad at math. They are just hoping you stop doing it. The chicken itself is a different story than the marketing. One regular described his last three-piece as mostly batter with a chicken rumor inside, and the health inspectors keep finding the same things in the same chain across the same year. A Popeyes in Wilkins Township, Pennsylvania ordered closed by the county health department in January 2025. A Popeyes in Colorado Springs failed health inspection 3 separate times in 5 weeks last spring. A Popeyes in Tampa cited for 19 violations in September, including mold in the ice machine and chicken held below safe temperature. Then, 12 more violations at the same Tampa store in February. Same chain, same year, 4 states. That is not a bad shift. That is a culture rotting from the top down. Then January hit. Sailormen Incorporated, the biggest Popeyes franchisee in America, 130 stores across Florida and Georgia, in business since 1987, filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy, $130 million in debt. A regular in St. Petersburg pulled into his Sunday Popeyes in March and found a paper sign on the door, 23 years of Sunday lunch, padlocked. The line cooks who fried his last three-piece had 2 days' notice. The most loyal franchisee Popeyes ever had, gone in 60 days. The Toronto parents' response? They swapped brand presidents twice in 3 months. 38 years of operating 130 restaurants, killed in 2 months, and the Toronto parents' solution was a new business card. That is the verdict on Popeyes from the people who actually fried the chicken. The next chain has a different problem. Its parent tried to sell it, the bidder deadline already passed. Nobody bought it. Worst number 8, Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut is dead, and Yum Brands killed it on purpose. The red roof your 8th birthday party happened under, the Book It program your kid earned a personal pan from, the sticky vinyl booth where your dad spilled the breadsticks. All of it bulldozed, sublet to vape shops, or shrunk to a counter and a phone over the last decade. The chain that taught your generation what a sit-down pizza dinner felt like decided sitting down was the part it could no longer afford. In Akron, Ohio in November 2024, the last full-service Pizza Hut in the city locked its doors after 36 years. The owner sent a handwritten letter to the local paper apologizing to the families who had birthday parties there. Yum Brands sent nothing. The pizza got worse the second the dining rooms closed. The pan pizza arrives cold, hard-crusted on the outside and almost raw in the middle, with cheese unmelted and sauce missing. One regular described his last large meat lovers as cardboard with a memory of marinara. Delivery has been handed off to DoorDash drivers who throw the box on the porch without knocking. The store phone rings out to a call center that promises to transfer you and never does. The chain that built itself on the phone cannot answer its own phone. A Phoenix line cook posted on a worker forum that his store had been operating for 6 months without a working oven thermostat. The shift lead just guessed at the temperature. 2 brothers, Dan and Frank Carney, opened the first Pizza Hut in Wichita in 1958 with $600 borrowed from their mother. Yum Brands took it in '97, parked it next to KFC and Taco Bell on the same balance sheet, and started running it like a line item ever since. Last year, 375 Pizza Huts went dark. Another 250 closed this year. 625 locations gone in 18 months. In November, Yum Brands quietly put the entire chain up for sale and called every private equity firm Reuters could name. Sycamore Partners, Apollo, Long Range Capital. The bidder deadline came and went in April. Nobody pulled the trigger. When private equity will not buy you for $1 on the dollar, that is a body Yum Brands cannot get rid of. Could it come back? Only if someone buys it for parts and rebuilds the dine-in concept from scratch. Yum has already answered. Meanwhile, Domino's, the chain Pizza Hut taught how to deliver, just passed it in stores, sales, and customer satisfaction. The student bought the master's house and changed the locks. The next chain on this list killed the one thing it was named after. Worst number 7, Panera Bread. A Panera customer in 2025 posted a receipt online that broke the internet. 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, a third sandwich, 2 soups. Total $71.62. For a lunch served in a paper bag at a place that asks you to bus your own table. That is airport terminal pricing at a strip mall cafe, and it is exactly why Americans are walking out. Panera sold itself for 30 years as the clean alternative. The no-no list on the wall said no artificial preservatives, no high-fructose corn syrup, and hormone-free turkey. Bread baked fresh every morning by an actual baker. You paid premium because you were buying premium. That was the deal. Then a German private equity firm called JAB Holding paid $7.5 billion for the brand in 2017 and started ripping the contract up one signature at a time. The no-no list came off the walls. The hormone language got scrubbed off the turkey description. Sourcing standards on turkey and pork got loosened in 2024. The clean food brand quietly became regular fast food wearing the same apron. Then, in April of last year, JAB closed every fresh dough facility Panera operated in America. All 9. Hundreds of bakery workers across 5 states got 2 weeks' notice. The bread now arrives frozen, par-baked at a third-party factory, shipped in a cardboard box, and finished in a warmer in the back. The bread company stopped baking bread. The chief executive who signed the layoffs, Paul Carbone, got on stage at the Restaurant Finance Conference in November and described his own brand's last 2 years as, his exact words, death by 1,000 paper cuts. He said it like a strategy. Now look at your receipt. The Pick 2 that ran $9 in 2019 runs closer to $14 today. The broccoli cheddar bread bowl shrunk to a half ladle. The salad arrived with cherry tomatoes you had to chase around the bowl and a halved avocado plopped on top that you were expected to slice yourself. The romaine got quietly swapped for cheaper iceberg in the summer of 2024. The stuff that goes in a fast food burger. In November, Panera itself confessed. The new chief executive announced a brand-wide rescue plan called Panera Rise and promised in writing to bring back bigger portions, better ingredients, more staff, and sliced tomatoes. The chain promising to start cutting tomatoes again. They denied anything was wrong for 2 years, then announced a plan to undo what they did. If you still go, treat it like fast food. Skip the fresh bread story and watch the portions. JAB Holding paid $7.5 billion for a brand built on integrity and spent 5 years burning it to the ground. What is left is the apron and the price tag. They can keep both. The next chain on this list had its founder go on national television to attack his own chief executive by name. Quick question for you in the comments before we keep going. Are you done with private equity ruining everything you grew up with? Drop your answer below and tell us where you are eating instead, what groceries you stopped buying, how you are dodging the high prices and the low quality. Other people reading this need to know. Worst number 6, Cracker Barrel. You know that feeling when you walk into Cracker Barrel and the smell hits you first. Biscuits in the oven, sausage on the grill, coffee that has been sitting in a glass pot since 6 in the morning. That smell is gone. The biscuits are baked in batches and chilled. The sausage is reheated. And the woman who killed it came from Taco Bell. Her name is Julie Fels Massino. The woman now running America's Grandma Kitchen came in 2023 from the chief executive seat at Taco Bell North America, where she built her career selling Crunchwrap Supremes through a drive-through speaker. The Wall Street Journal got the receipts in December. Under Massino, the kitchen stopped rolling biscuit dough fresh. They bake it in big batches and stick it in the fridge. Green beans came out of the cast-iron stovetop kettles and went into the oven, reheated to order. The chicken and dumplings show up with almost no chicken. The chicken fried steak tastes like the box from the Costco freezer aisle. The hash brown casserole is a different recipe than the one your kids grew up on, because it is. Menu prices climbed almost 35% in 5 years. Traffic dropped 7% in the first quarter and 10 to 11% by November. By Thanksgiving last year, longtime regulars were posting on complaint boards calling for a national boycott of Cracker Barrel on Thanksgiving Day. That's doing a lot of damage quietly. In August, Massino unveiled a new logo, stripped Uncle Herschel off the wordmark, and deleted the words "Old Country Store." The president posted about it. The stock dropped 7% in a week. The board reversed in 10 days. Nearly $700 million spent on a redesign that lasted 10 days. That is not a misstep. That is a faceplant with a press release. That is when the founder showed up on television. Tommy Lowe, 93 years old, the man who opened the first Cracker Barrel in 1969, went on Fox Business in October and said, Massino has no idea what she is doing, and spending $700 million on the redesign was throwing money out the window. 2 months later, on the company's own earnings call, quarterly profits had collapsed from $45 million a year ago to $7 million. When the 93-year-old founder of the chain is the one telling America the chief executive does not know what she is doing, her title does not matter anymore. The verdict has already been delivered by the only person on earth who could. The next chain on this list lost its lowest income customers for 2 straight years. The chief executive admitted it on tape. Hit pause and trace the logos. Burger King and Popeyes, same Toronto parent. Pizza Hut and KFC, same Louisville balance sheet. Panera, Frankfurt Money, Cracker Barrel, Wall Street activists squeezing the kitchen. 5 brands so far, 3 boardrooms behind them. This is the trick. Different signs out front, same investor in the back room. They have already buried Bennigan's, Howard Johnson's, Steak and Ale, and Friendly's, chains your parents grew up with, gone after a Wall Street firm finished bleeding them. 3 firms, 3 cities, 1 playbook. Your move is simple. Stop feeding the chains tied to those balance sheets. Reward the few still run like restaurants instead of spreadsheets. Hit subscribe before the next one. The remaining 5 are where the real money got taken. Worst number 5? McDonald's. $18 for a Big Mac combo. That is a real receipt from a McDonald's in Connecticut that went viral last year. The chain that built itself selling working-class America a meal under $5 is now charging diner prices for fast food in most cities, low teens to nearly $20 for a tray. And the people getting hit hardest are walking out by the millions. The chief executive admitted it on a recorded earnings call last fall. Chris Kempczynski told investors that low-income customers, the foundation of his brand for 60 years, have been declining at a double-digit rate every quarter for almost 2 years, while wealthy customers keep coming back. A Big Mac is now a luxury item priced for people who do not need to count change. McDonald's prices have climbed roughly 40% since 2019. The Big Mac you bought for $4 is $9. The combo your kid asks for now costs more than the hourly minimum wage in 20 states. Drive-through waits stretch to 20 minutes. Mobile orders show up missing items with soggy buns and cold fries. One regular described walking into the lobby to find a single employee running the counter, the drink station, and the front line by herself. The American Customer Satisfaction Index ranked McDonald's dead last in burgers in October. The chain that invented the speed of service window is now slower than the family diner. The old cheap meal is gone. The dollar menu is a museum exhibit. The only way to beat the system now is to cherry-pick the few app-only coupons, eat smaller portions at the same old price, or just walk past the door. Then, the part nobody saw coming. In August, the National Owners Association, the franchisees who own 95% of every McDonald's in America, drafted a 15-point franchisee Bill of Rights. Item 15. The right to set prices without fear of recourse. They wrote a Declaration of Independence against their own brand. They were responding to a corporate policy that started in January, where McDonald's now grades every franchisee on whether their pricing delivers enough value. The penalty for failing? Termination of the franchise license. That is McDonald's pointing a gun at the people who built the arches. A January survey by analyst Mark Kalinowski returned a result he had never seen in 20-plus years. Every single operator answered no to the same question. They rated their relationship with corporate at 1.37 out of 5, worse than most people give their cable provider. When a chain loses its lowest income customers and its own franchisees in the same 18 months, the verdict is unanimous. The next chain pays its chief executive among the largest CEO to worker pay, multiples reported in the entire S&P 500. Worst number 4, Starbucks. In November of last year, Starbucks released a $30 plastic teddy bear cup. Grown adults camped outside stores overnight to buy one. It sold out in hours. Resale prices online ran into the hundreds. The same week, 2,000 of the baristas pouring those drinks were on strike outside the same stores. The chief executive, who refused to give them a contract, pulled in $96 million for 4 months of work. The contract the baristas wanted would have barely dented annual profits. Let's be honest for a second. His name is Brian Niccol. The man cashing that $96 million check also signed off on the portion games at another chain in this video. We will get to that. The pay ratio behind that $96 million paycheck makes the bear cup look polite. The median barista, the person actually pulling your espresso shot, makes under $15,000 a year. 6,666 times less than Niccol. Among the largest CEO to worker pay gaps reported in the entire S&P 500. And the National Labor Relations Board has found Starbucks responsible for more than 500 labor law violations, one of the worst records of any major American employer in recent years. And that's putting it mildly. The cafe Howard Schultz built 30 years ago was the third place. Not home, not work, somewhere in between with a leather chair and the smell of espresso, and a barista who knew your name. That place is gone. Nicol cut staffing. Mobile orders fire faster than the bar can pour them. Nicol himself called the mobile chaos his Achilles heel and is shutting 90 mobile-only stores by year-end. The company is admitting in writing that the model failed. Regulars who ordered the same drink for years now get it wrong every visit. The app crashed on a Tuesday morning rush in April, and customers could not even add a latte to the cart. You wait 15 minutes for a burnt latte while the person in front of you camps out for a $30 bear cup. If you still want a third place, your best bet is the local shop where the barista has been there longer than the seasonal cup design. Any place where the employees stay longer than the menu items? A company that can charge $30 for a plastic teddy bear and refuse a meaningful barista contract is not a coffee company anymore. It is a costume. The chief executive who broke this is the same man who broke the chain at number 3. Worst number 3, Chipotle. In February, the chief executive of Chipotle went on an investor call and admitted out loud what every customer who had walked away already knew. 60% of the people still walking into a Chipotle now earn over $100,000 a year. He called that group the chain's North Star. The same call introduced a menu item marketed at people on Ozempic, a $3.80 cup of grilled chicken, sized for the diet drug crowd. The working-class American who built this chain, the line cook, the construction worker, the nurse grabbing a burrito on the way home, is no longer in the plan. Chipotle told you out loud, you are not the customer. The country is in the worst affordability crisis in 40 years. The exact people Chipotle was built to feed got told the chain is chasing customers who can skip lunch. That's the part nobody tells you. But the abandonment did not start at the cash register. It started in the kitchen. Chipotle built itself on a single promise, printed on every wall and napkin for 30 years. Food with integrity, fresh, never frozen. Every ingredient, hand-cut, hand-grilled, hand-mashed in front of you. That is what let them charge $11 for a burrito the rest of the industry sold for $6. Walk into a Chipotle today, and that craft is being assembled by a robot. The chain is rolling out an automated make line built by a company called Hyphen, a machine that puts together bowls and salads for the 65% of orders coming through the app. They have an avocado processing robot named Autocado peeling and pitting your guac. They have a tortilla chip robot named Chippy. The premium you are paying did not buy you craft. It bought executives a margin target. The ingredients are still technically what they claim to be. The handmade part you were paying $11 for has been quietly swapped for assembly. Same-store sales fell 1.7% last year, the first annual decline since the food poisoning crisis of 2016. Traffic was down every quarter. The stock lost 30%. The customer base that grew this company has been telling Chipotle in receipts and walked outdoors that the deal is broken. The CEO told them to leave. If the name on Chipotle's corner office sounds familiar, it should. Brian Nicol oversaw the portion shrinking, watched his own spokesperson deny it on national television, while line cooks across the country were told to scoop less, took the chain into a securities class action, and left in August 2024 for a $96 million pay package at Starbucks. He did not fix one chain. He broke a second one on his way out the door. Chipotle does not want you back. They told you so themselves. The next chain just posted its worst quarter in 20 years. Worst number 2, Wendy's. In the last 3 months of last year, Wendy's posted the worst quarter the company has had in over 20 years according to its own filings. United States same restaurant sales fell 11.3%, down 11% in 90 days, while every other fast food chain on this list was closing the year ugly but still selling food. Not exactly reassuring. The stock has lost 60% of its value in 5 years, $8 a share. The chief executive who was supposed to fix it lasted 18 months before quitting to go run a snack food company. The chief financial officer is now interim chief executive and has been for over 6 months. Wendy's has been without a permanent boss longer than most people keep a gym membership. And then, on February 18th, Nelson Peltz, the Wall Street activist who chaired the Wendy's board for 17 years until last year, filed paperwork at the Securities and Exchange Commission saying he might buy Wendy's outright, or sell his entire stake, or push for what the filing called extraordinary control transactions. Translation: a fire sale, a leveraged buyout, or a board coup. The man who was in the room while this chain bled for 20 years now wants the right to either buy the corpse or sell it for parts. That's the red flag. The biggie bag that ran $4 5 years ago now runs $6. Not just a price hike. The burger inside got smaller, the fries got fewer, and the chicken sandwich went from a sandwich to what regulars on Reddit started calling a chicken wafer. The square patty Dave Thomas built the company on now arrives smaller than the bun. Cold fries, lukewarm patties on stale buns, drive-through windows running half-staffed, chili that tastes like it has been on the warmer since lunch. The Frosty machine has been broken since the last election. 300 American Wendy's are closing by July. If your local Wendy's has shorter hours, a rotating cast of managers, and a system down sign on the kiosk every Friday, it is on the short list. Those are the stores corporate is closing. Dave Thomas was the credibility, the one CEO we could believe when we saw him in a TV ad. Do you feel the same when you see the McDonald's chief executive trying to bite into his own product on social media? Yeah, us neither. The next chain closed more American restaurants in a decade than any chain in fast food history. Worst number 1, Subway. Subway is at number 1 because Subway already happened. 8,345 American Subway restaurants disappeared in 10 years. One of the largest fast food collapses in United States history. Not because Americans got tired of sandwiches, because the franchise model got tired of franchisees. 27,000 stores in 2015. Under 19,500 today. Picture every Burger King in America boarded up tomorrow morning. That is the size of what Roark Capital is doing to Subway on a slower schedule. Roark Capital is an Atlanta private equity firm. In 2023, they paid $9.6 billion for Subway, the third largest restaurant deal in American history. They already owned Jimmy John's and McAllister's Deli. The Federal Trade Commission opened an antitrust review in real time because one fund was about to control most of the American sandwich market. The deal closed anyway. Doesn't inspire confidence. This is the part nobody is saying out loud. The restaurant problem in 2026 is not the food. It is not the workers. It is not even inflation. It is 3 or 4 private equity firms quietly buying every chain Americans grew up eating at and stripping them for parts. Different signs, identical script. The investors change names. The ending does not. What does the stripping look like in your sandwich? Stale bread that crumbles before you bite. Meat sliced so thin you can read the menu through it. A federal class action in Brooklyn says, Subway's own advertising photos show at least 200% more meat than the actual product. 200%. The chain, whose entire slogan was "Eat Fresh," now charges $15 for a foot-long made of yesterday's bread and a chicken rumor. The franchisees are getting it worse than the customers. In January, MTF Enterprises in Pennsylvania filed Chapter 11. 43 Subway stores wiped out in a single bankruptcy because the franchisee was taking out predatory cash advance loans just to keep the rent paid. 3 weeks later, a 23-unit operator went down for the same reason. The math: write a check for $500,000 to open a Subway. Hand 12.5% of every dollar back to corporate as a royalty, and after rent, you take home less than a public school teacher. Most owners walk away with personal debt and wrecked credit. The corporate parent keeps the brand. The franchisee eats the loss. 8,000 families lost their American small business, so a fund manager in Atlanta could meet a quarterly target. Fred DeLuca opened the first Subway in 1965 with a $1,000 loan from a friend. His family ran it for 6 decades and built something real. Roark bought it and is selling it for parts. If you still want a sandwich, your best bet now is the local deli where the guy slicing the meat owns the place. The franchise game is over. The independents are the only ones left who answer to you instead of an Atlanta spreadsheet. 2 chains are doing the opposite of what we just watched, and you reward them by walking through their door this weekend. They are coming up next. Rising stars. Texas Roadhouse and Chili's. 2 chains are eating the lunch of every chain we just walked through. Both are publicly traded. Neither is owned by private equity. And both are running circles around the same restaurant industry that just told you it does not need you anymore. Texas Roadhouse is the bigger story. Last year, Texas Roadhouse passed Olive Garden to become the largest casual dining chain in America. $5.9 billion in sales, 684 locations, with 35 more opening this year. Their average store generates $8.7 million annually. The next closest competitor is at 6. Same-store sales were up 6.1% in their last reported quarter, and almost every dollar of that came from real new customers walking through the door, not from squeezing the regulars on price. They run 0 promotional discounts. They do not need them. The line at the door is the marketing. Fresh rolls and cinnamon honey butter the second you sit down. Loaded baked potatoes the size of a softball. Steaks cut by hand in the restaurant by an actual butcher every morning. And a chief executive named Jerry Morgan, who came up through the company starting as a managing partner in 1997. He did not parachute in from a snack food company. He earned the chair. That's the difference maker. Chili's is the comeback story. 3 years ago, Chili's was being written off. Today, the chain just posted its 19th straight quarter of sales growth and ate the number 2 spot in casual dining away from Olive Garden. Same-store sales up 8.6% in the most recent quarter. One of the best numbers in the entire industry right now. The man behind it is Kevin Hochman, who took over Brinker International in 2022. He simplified the menu, reinvested in food quality, and built a value play called 3 for Me. A starter, an entree, and a drink for under $11. His team also built the metric, get this, guests with a problem, and steadily drove it down. He measures whether you leave happy. Try finding that on the dashboard at Subway Corporate, the honest stake. If either chain ever sells to a private equity firm, you will watch this exact story replay in 5 years. Until then, walk into either of these on a Friday night and you see the same thing. Families. Real people eating real food at a price that still feels like a win. At a good location, the line is visible from the parking lot. The manager walks the floor and you see real cooks in the window. If it looks half empty and nobody greets you, that is not the play you just heard about. They will make mistakes. The difference is simple. When you complain, somebody in the building still cares enough to fix it. 12 restaurants, 10 that broke the deal with the customer who built them, and 2 still keeping their end. The chains that respect you are growing. The chains that chase a quarterly target for a private equity firm in Atlanta are closing. You do not need a boycott. You need a Friday night. Pick the table that wants you there. Skip the table that does not. Here is the challenge. Pick one chain on this list still in your weekly rotation and give it up for 90 days. Spend that money at one of the rising chains, a local diner, or your own kitchen. Report back in the comments where the money went and whether the bill and the plate felt different. 3 months from now, we run the numbers. In the comments, 2 things. First, which chain on this list lost you and what was the moment you walked away? Second, the chain we missed. The one in your zip code charging twice the price for half the food. We read every single one and the worst ones become the next video. If this video saved you from a bad meal this week, send it to the friend or family member who still does not believe what is happening to American food. They will eat better, and so will you. Subscribe before the next one drops. Next week, we walk through the same playbook running inside the grocery store you shopped in last weekend, and the one product on the shelf that just doubled in price for no reason at all. See you there.